Imagine being invited to dinner by the most powerful man in the world. You arrive at the palace excited for an evening of fine food and conversation, but when you step inside, everything is black. Black walls, black ceiling, black furniture. And then you see it, a stone slab with your name carved into it, standing upright like a gravestone. Naked boys painted black serve you funeral food, while the emperor talks about nothing but death and murder for hours. You're convinced you're about to die. This is the story of the Emperor Domitian and his Black Banquet, one of the most twisted power moves in Roman history. Domitian was born in 51 CE, and from the beginning he was the family disappointment. His father, Vespasian, and older brother Titus were both successful military commanders who earned respect and glory. Domitian grew up in their shadows, watching his brother get all the important assignments and praise. When Vespasian became emperor in 69 CE, founding the Flavian dynasty, Domitian was given fancy titles but no real power. Even after their father died and Titus became emperor, Domitian remained sidelined. Then in 81 CE, Titus died unexpectedly, possibly from illness, though some ancient sources hint that Domitian may have poisoned him. Domitian immediately seized the throne at age 29, and here's the thing. Unlike his father and brother, he had no military glory to back up his claim to power. He was an emperor without the traditional credentials. Now here's what's fascinating. Despite his terrible reputation, Domitian was actually a pretty competent ruler. He managed the empire's finances well, kept the currency stable, fought corruption in the provinces, and launched massive building projects that transformed Rome. He increased soldiers' pay, ensuring military loyalty. He personally heard legal cases and seemed genuinely interested in justice. But there was a dark side that grew worse over time. Domitian became increasingly autocratic, demanding to be called Lord and God. He bypassed the Senate constantly, which obviously didn't make him popular with senators. And after a failed revolt in 89 CE, his paranoia went into overdrive. The last 6 years of his reign were marked by treason trials, executions, and a network of informers that created an atmosphere of terror, especially among the aristocracy. He saw conspiracies everywhere, and honestly, he wasn't entirely wrong. People really were plotting against him, partly because his behavior made them fear for their lives. Enter the Black Banquet. Picture this. Rome's most powerful senators and officials receive invitations to dine with the emperor. This isn't something you can refuse. When the emperor calls, you show up. But from the moment they arrived, these guests knew something was terribly wrong. The entire dining room had been transformed into a chamber of death. Every surface was painted black, creating an oppressive tomb-like atmosphere. As each guest was shown their place, they discovered a stone marker standing next to their dining couch, shaped exactly like a gravestone with their own name inscribed on it. But it gets worse. The servants were young boys, completely naked, their bodies painted black to look like ghosts or spirits of the dead. They moved silently through the room, serving food, but not the lavish banquet you'd expect at an imperial feast. Instead, guests were given the types of dishes traditionally offered at Roman funerals. And throughout this entire nightmarish event, Domitian sat there, talking exclusively about death and murder. For hours, these powerful men, senators who ruled provinces, commanded armies, and controlled vast fortunes, sat in terrified silence, convinced that they were about to be executed. When the dinner finally ended and they were allowed to leave, they went home absolutely certain they'd be arrested or killed before morning. But here's the twist. The next day, Domitian sent messengers to each guest's home, and instead of executioners, they brought gifts. The stone markers, they were actually made of precious metals. The emperor also sent expensive presents, including the boys who had served them the night before, now cleaned up and given as slaves. It was all a joke, a dark, twisted, psychological torture session disguised as entertainment. Modern historians are extremely skeptical about whether this event actually occurred as described. First, it could be complete fiction. Almost everything we know about Domitian was written by people who absolutely hated him, senators and their friends writing after he was dead and his memory had been officially condemned. They had every reason to make him look as evil as possible. Second, something like this might have happened, but had gotten wildly exaggerated in the retelling. Maybe Domitian threw a themed dinner party with dark decor, and decades later it had been transformed into this horror story through repeated retellings and embellishments. Third, and this is my personal favorite theory, maybe Domitian did stage something like this, but as entertainment. Romans had a weird sense of humor, and elaborate pranks weren't unheard of. Whether it happened or not, the story tells us something important about Domitian's reputation and his relationship with Rome's elite. By 96 CE, even Domitian's closest associates feared him. A conspiracy formed involving palace officials, freedmen, and possibly even his wife. On September 18, 96 CE, at age 44, Domitian was stabbed to death in his bedroom. The Senate's reaction? They immediately declared damnatio memoriae, official condemnation of his memory. They ordered his name chiseled off monuments, his statues smashed, his face removed from coins. They wanted to erase him from history. But here's the ironic twist. The army and common people reportedly mourned him. They wanted him deified, the ultimate honor. The same man the Senate portrayed as a monster was loved by regular Romans who benefited from his policies. So back to our original question, did the Black Banquet really happen? Honestly, we'll probably never know, but in a way it doesn't matter. The story survived because it captured something true about Domitian's reign: the fear, the power games, the psychological torture of living under an increasingly paranoid autocrat. What we do know is that Domitian was a complex figure, an effective administrator who became an authoritarian nightmare, a competent emperor whose political style destroyed his relationships with the ruling class, a man who was genuinely paranoid, but also genuinely threatened. The Black Banquet, real or invented, became the perfect symbol of his reign. Elaborate, theatrical, terrifying, and ultimately revealing the complete breakdown of trust between the emperor and Rome's elite. And that's the real horror story here. Not the black walls or the gravestones or the funeral food, but what it represented. A government built on fear rather than respect, where the most powerful people in the world could be reduced to terrified silence at a dinner party. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient Rome's darkest dinner party, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, if you were invited to Domitian's Black Banquet, do you think you would have figured out it was a prank, or would you have spent the night writing your will? See you in the next video.